Have you ever thought of the environmental damage caused by road construction? These projects cause a lot of money and are not necessary. The funding for these road projects should be going to public transit. Such projects cause severe environmental damage. Look at the size of earth-moving equipment that is needed. Look at the destruction caused by these machines. To make these roads requires rock blasting, cutting forests, destroying farmland, and contaminating wetlands. Habitat destruction is also part of road construction. There is also environmental contamination from lubricating oil, grease, and gasoline spills. The United States government has developed many regulations for environmental protection. You may find some of them at the links below. Some items to consider for work in the environment includes hazardous material use, green procurement planning, environmental management systems training, stormwater permits, stormwater pollution prevention plan, clean soil certification, and wetlands permit. You can get the contract documents for publicly funded road projects. Those contract documents include the drawings and specifications that are used for the road work. If you are refused, you can file a Freedom of Information Act request. The specifications contain the written information how few work is to be done. This is the part environmental activists find most useful because it is not as subject to interpretation as drawings are. During these construction projects, the disturbed soil gets washed into streams, rivers, lakes, ponds, and other bodies of water. The silt and debris then contaminates the waters, resulting in the death of life in there. The planners for these projects may or may not be familiar what to do to prevent these disasters. The government has a publication known as the Code of Federal Regulations. There is a link below to the web page. In there you will find information on the precautions and use of hazardous materials. The point is there is no use to guess what has to be done to protect the environment, when the government already has that figured out. For instance, you can ask the project manager of such a road project to give you his definition of environmental pollution and damage. Compare that to the government's definition. The same applies with the definition for environmental protection. If the definition he gives is different than what you see, you may want to know more about what they are doing to your environment. It's important to know because there are many hazardous materials used in these projects. The power machines regularly need oil changing, as well as lubrication and greasing. They also need fuels such as gasoline, diesel, or other fuel oils. All those materials can easily be introduced into the environment, causing irreparable harm, and nobody would know until the effects are obvious. The same applies when those machines are washed and the grease, oil, lubricants, solvents, and coolant are washed off and then contaminate the ground and waters. To prevent environmental damage, an erosion and sediment control plan which identifies the type and location of the erosion and sediment control should be used. This is to prevent the contamination of water with clay, silt, organic matter, and animal waste. Excavations for sanitary facilities, materials storage areas, embankments, and stockpiles of excess or spoil materials must also be considered. In the case of a spill of toxic materials such as motor fuel, oil, lubricant, solvent, human or animal waste, it is necessary to have written procedures, instructions, and reports. Many of those substances are found in 40 CFR 68, 40 CFR 302, and 40 CFR 355. It is also necessary to confine all activities to areas defined by the drawings and specifications, and not do activities outside those areas. It's a good idea to identify all land resources to be preserved within the work area prior to the beginning of any construction. Many times it is easy to do massive amounts of unnecessary work to expedite the construction schedule. Such activity results in the removal, cutting, defacing, injuring, and destroying of land resources including trees, shrubs, vines, as well as native grasses, topsoil, and landforms. This certainly leads to disastrous results, requiring massive public funds to correct the environmental damages. It takes many decades to create soil. It also takes a lot of tax monies to remedy soil erosion caused by road construction. Soil that is washed into water bodies is bad for the environment and animal life. The erosion and sediment controls selected and maintained by the contractor shall be such that water quality standards are not violated as a result of construction activities. Remember, it's publicly funded, so you have a right to ask questions and know what they are doing to your environment, including your drinking water and contaminated soils. These projects are also notorious for air pollution, including dust and engine exhaust, aerosols and gaseous byproducts from construction activities and processing and preparation of materials, such as from concrete processing area, must be controlled at all times, including weekends, holidays and hours when work is not in progress. If you ever had difficulty breathing because of such activities, you most certainly will agree with the need for them to maintain excavations, stockpiles, haul roads, permanent and temporary access roads, plant sites, spoil areas, borrow areas, and other work areas within or outside the project boundaries free from particulates which would cause the air pollution standards to be exceeded or which would cause a hazard or a nuisance. Remember, it's your environment and life. Protect it or deal with the consequences.